Honestly, thank you so much for joining us. How are we doing, Sport Beach? You good? This is lovely. This is lovely. Really excited about this conversation. Tech, World Cup, the evolution of tech in sport, especially football, soccer, my passion. But I mean, like, we've got an amazing panel here. So yeah, let's get straight into it. And Ali, I want to start with you really, because I've been really interested in your career, especially US women's national team, but also when you started to where the game is at now, and you didn't retire too long ago, data, collecting data, understanding women's bodies, tactics, so much has changed. How have you viewed that evolution over time?
Yeah, it's definitely changed, and it's definitely evolved in such a modern game on the field. But off the field, the investment has been key, right? The investment kind of sparks all of the other things that follow that. So the resources, the accommodations, everything that, you know, gets behind the investment in the person that plays on the team, and then that elevates the organization and the teams within the leagues. So yes, on the field, it's become super modern. Off the field, it's because of that investment, that money that you can put towards everyone that is involved in that organization, including the players, that has all elevated. And that's where I feel like a lot of these teams, a lot of these players have used their platforms for good. They've used their voices. You've given the players individual voices to be able to elevate each organization themselves. So it all encompasses together. And I think the investment, the care, the support, that's where you see the evolution changing. And that's why you see the game growing in the direction that it's going in at such a rapid rate.
Yeah, I know it's something you're super passionate about, and that investment in the game. And, you know, I'm looking at when you're playing in Frankfurt, and I was looking at your jersey then. It was, like, quite baggy and, like, quite heavy.
I was a little heavy then, too.
It doesn't matter. It is what it needed to be. But, like, the reality is, you know, we're looking at insane athletes right now, always have been insane athletes, but the facilities are different. For you, in a training perspective, how have you seen that evolution in terms of the data people have been able to collect on the women's game? I mean, Adidas and Nike have only just recently launched, you know, their very first female soccer boot.
Yeah, no, it's so important, and it's so key for these players to have everything they need in order to be successful, to be happy, to perform their best. So giving them those opportunities and having the resources where they can walk into a locker room that is fit for women and for players at that level. And then playing surface, you know, making sure that they're playing in the stadiums that they deserve, and the training facility, and the practice field, and all the things. Giving them socks to wear for training, giving them a decent uniform. It seems so silly to say out loud, but it's the truth. We need just we need those essentials in order to feel our best, in order to give our best. And if you build it, honestly, the players will continue to be happy, to continue to feel valued and appreciated, and then they're gonna perform really well on the field.
Okay, I love that. I love that. Jessica, let's come to you. Let's talk about the tech. I'm just interested, from a Microsoft standpoint, you know, what kind of tools you're giving coaches, athletes, to really help operate at their optimum.
Yeah, thanks. I think technology is really changing the game, and AI specifically. It's becoming almost like a silent assistant coach to people, right? It's watching and learning and providing insights on an ongoing basis. And I think that it can help with athlete training. We've seen that. We see it predict injuries and help coaches like real time in games rather than having to wait till after the game and watch the film. Now they can look at real time insights and make adjustments within the game. But I think injury is like one of the most important kind of areas that I think is really interesting, because AI can really sort of, with an individual athlete, sort of track how they do things. How do they make that move? How many times do they make that move before their muscles and things get fatigued? And so when it can predict that kind of information, a coach maybe on the sidelines can see that, hey, they're getting fatigued, and that means they're at risk for injury, and could potentially like sub them out. And I think it's important because I feel like so many athletes, their games end by injury. And if we could avoid that, and we could extend athletes' careers through using AI and predicting those kinds of things, I think that could have a real impact on the sport and on athletes.
Yeah, Flo, I'm interested in that because, I mean, you've had a bit of an injury-strewn season, really, if you think about it. From your perspective, the tech, the data, how does that help you from injury recovery as well?
It helps me loads, you know. The ladies were totally spot on. In my scenario, I use a product called 8 Sleep. And that allows me to regulate the temperature before I go to sleep. You know, in the summertime, it's a nightmare trying to get to sleep. It can be too hot in your room, so that keeps my mattress at a really cool temperature. And then as soon as I get into bed, I'm off to sleep within 30 minutes. And they're the little details about being proactive that allow you to get more sleep, a better sleep, REM sleep, and then in the morning it will send me the data. I'll go through it, see what I can improve, see what I need to do better. And as it was said about AI, you know, I almost treat it like a silent brother. I ask AI the craziest of questions. What to do.
About your game?
About everything. Even what to do in, how do I tell somebody criticism in a constructive way? And it's given me perfect answers. But yeah, technology is a huge thing in the modern game, and if you're not capitalizing on it, it's your fault. You know, you're gonna get left behind.
Yeah, I want to ask both of you guys something literally now. I mean, Flo, I'll start with you, but like, we talk about being able to assess your performance on the field, and I know that's often part of the post-match for any player, right? Let's watch this, let's look at that. What kind of player are you? Less information, or are you about the detail?
I'm a detail-orientated sort of person.
Yeah.
I always give myself 24 hours to detach from it, to get rid of my emotion and to try and just relax, step away. But then after that 24 hours, I'll go in the next training day and I'll really go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I've always been detail-orientated, and yeah, something that, it's what works for me. Some people like to detach from things and just hear little bits of information, but I'm somebody who likes to get into it quite heavily.
Okay. What about you, Ali? Detail?
Yeah, I think you have to be. If you want to play at this level and be able to stay at the top level for a long time, you have to put the time in and be super detailed in everything that you do, whether you're on the field or off the field. And being an athlete at the professional level, at the level that is the best in the world, that's a 24-hour job. And you know, you perform, but then it's those other hours of the day that also, like what Flo was talking about, getting proper sleep, recovery tools, all the things that really matter into how you're going to perform. What you eat, how you sleep, how you recover, and take care of yourself off the field also really affects that. So yeah, very detailed, and also learning the game, watching video, taking time to have meetings with coaches, and everything that you can use now with technology has given us the immediate tool to watch training back 5 minutes after it's done. So yeah, you have to use all of that in order to stay at the level that you want to be at.
Okay, I want to move on to talking about using tech for personal branding, getting your message out there. We're in a really interesting time where us fans want to know more. I looked at your socials, you've got a lovely family, beautiful family, and you're like, wow, that's a little glimpse into your life. How do you moderate that? Because there's a glimpse, but sometimes there's too much. And how do you find that balance? Because there are other messages as well you want to speak about. I know you're really passionate about the women's game and promoting it in many ways. Yeah,
there's a fine line, right? You want to allow people into your life, but then you have to be careful at times of how much you give, so it's not too invasive. But you need to, be able to set up your brand in a way that is authentic to you and that you continue to be visible. And I felt like over the years, I wanted to build a brand that was relatable. And I wanted to relate to any fan that would come to the games and make sure that they had some type of access in order for them to get back in the seats and be able to help me do what I love to do, which is to play football. So, it's a give and take. I want to share a little bit, but not too much to that, I overextend myself and feel like I have to, put things out there. My family means everything to me, and so I try to hold that a little bit more private than other things in my life. But I do think it's really important to give people, to show people that I'm a real person, that football is what I did. It's not necessarily who I am.
Flo, you, socials, tech, letting people know who you are. I'm a big Arsenal fan, so I've followed you for so many years. But, I wouldn't say you're shy on stuff like Instagram, but you're quite measured as to what you put out. But also, how do you build a brand with that in mind as well?
Yeah, I'm an introverted sort of person, so as you said, I'm quite careful of what I allow people to see. I think, luckily, I'm in an industry where the sport's played in front of millions of people, and I feel like that's almost going to get promoted for free, When I play a game, I do good things, people are going to know. For me, it's important to champion different parts of my life, and as you said, I'm also a human, There's other parts of my life that need to be... that people won't know about me, things I like to do, and connecting with brands like Offball, who appeal to the young, modern generation, I think, really well. I did a piece with them, and I noticed straight away the sort of questions they asked me were extremely unique, and stuff like, what's your favorite sort of movie? And it just brings a conversation that's totally away from football, so that's refreshing.
Is that something you and your team think about? Is that actually we have to be really careful as to where we put you in that respect? Stuff that actually gets the best out of you. You talk about being an introvert. Actually, you just don't want to have like silly conversation. You want to have actual in-depth conversations in the platforms you're trying to promote.
Yeah, stuff like this, it makes me really happy, even being on stage, sharing the stage with you guys. It's something that's detailed and something that applies to me. And like I said with my recovery, I'm a detailed person, so it's only natural I carry that in all aspects of my life. And yeah, my team's really focused on that. They would rather get me to do less things, but higher quality, and that's sort of my philosophy as well.
How important is it from your... I'll come to you, Jess. I've got a beautiful one.
I'm fascinated.
No,
keep going.
Because you're just sitting inside. I'm like, I want to drop the tech nugget in just a second.
No, I love this.
You know, you're in a position where you are known for what you've done, your World Cup triumphs. You are a well-recognized face, but also a sport that's also finding itself and growing in so many ways. How important is it that your platform becomes that bastion to also promote what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's different now that you're not actually performing on field, so you have to kind of redefine and reimagine your impact and what I can do off the field, which is, you know, use my broadcasting tools that I'm able to have a platform there with ESPN, being able to talk women's football, and co-hosting a show there, and then also being an ambassador for one of the NWSL teams, Gotham FC, and continue to help bring that player experience to the club so that they have a better understanding of how to treat the players and what the players need and want in order to be successful. I think that is really key. And then building out investment in other women's sports, which I've done. So I've invested in women's volleyball. There's others that are going to be on the table here soon.
Okay, so, businesswoman, I see you.
Yeah, just moving into a space where I can actually, you know, put my money where my mouth is. And I think that's really huge for us. And I don't want to just stick to soccer and football. I want to actually cross over into other sports that I actually really love, like basketball and volleyball as well. So those are really important to me. But going back to the social media thing, I just want to touch on this because Flo kind of sparked, you know, a thought of mine that, you know, social media, it's also not reality, right?
Sure.
For sure. So you have to be careful on how much you read into that, because what you see is not always what you get. So that's also why I'm a little bit careful on how, you know, I share so much privately.
Well, Jess, let's talk to you then. Let's bring it into the data, but also, you know, the people that consume the social media are the fans. The people that consume the game are the fans. If you're not on the pitch with them, in the crowd, how are you guys thinking about the fan experience when they're watching at home? What are the nuggets are they taking away? Not just the action on the field, but also how do they feel part of what's going on screen?
Yeah, it's a great question, especially because soccer is truly a global sport, right? I mean, you think about all the other sports, they're very much about a zip code, a city, a state, right? Most of their fans are there, but you can walk around anywhere and see people in jerseys from, you know, teams that represent teams anywhere around the world. So it really is fascinating. And so being able to bring them sort of an authentic experience, right, where they can feel like they're part of the game and they can engage. So AI allows us to do things like do real-time translations so that they're watching the game in their local language at the same time. So things like that help them feel like the experience. But then also, I think technology allows us to cultivate, especially AI, to cultivate the content so that it's really designed around you as a person, rather than going up to a specific site or, you know, in an app and getting sort of the generic experience that everyone's getting and trying to hunt and peck for your information. What I think is really interesting is with AI, it learns your behavior. It understands who your favorite players are, what teams you follow. It looks at what kind of content you consume. Are you in the nitty-gritty in terms of statistics and following that? Or are you watching highlight videos? And so the AI can kind of detect and determine sort of what kind of content you're engaging in, what you like, and deliver a very cultivated kind of experience that's just for you. And when you give fans that experience, they feel like they're more part of that sport. And they tend to then also share. They've got some clip or something that's really interesting and personal to them that they start sharing on social media. And so then that's out there on TikTok and it's out there on Instagram, right? And so it's driving even broader awareness of that. And then they're creating community as they do that. And sometimes communicating with the athletes directly as well. And so it's sort of taking I think it's taking fans from being just like listeners and followers to like active participants in the game.
I'm just thinking about how tech is affecting the game as well. I guess something like VAR, which is like a virtual assistant, you know, for the referees. For you as a player, you're still a young player, but there was a time where that wasn't present in your game. How has that affected the way you played the game? I think about celebrations, for instance. You score a beautiful goal. You're not quite sure whether or not you can celebrate or not.
I think that's the only nerve-wracking part, you know, when you score a goal and you're not sure if you can celebrate, as you said. But for me, I don't know. I like numbers. I like data. I like to compare. And I think if it's harnessed in the right way, it's always going to be the right direction to go in. And AI is just something that's newly started. It's only going to get bigger, better, more intricate. So I really do believe it is the right direction to go in.
Yeah, do you see that, Ali, in terms of how technology is actually affecting not just the home experience, but also the on-field experience as well? For you, well, an ex-player, but for you as a player?
Yeah, it is. And you talked about VAR, but also now you can even detect within each player how many times they touch the ball, how many times they make, you know, A-cell, D-cells, like just on the field, on pitch, how many passes they make, completed or not. There's so much technology behind the individual player along with the team that is so beneficial for everyone to continue to get better at their individual game, but the game as a group. And VAR, I'm a little mixed on that. I don't know.
I've not heard any positives, really.
I only played probably 2 years with VAR towards the end of my career, so I was quite lucky. But I do think it's beneficial because there were a lot of times where there were a few goals here and there that I was like, I don't know, you know, defensively, you know, just wondering if that was really accounted or not. So yeah, it's actually a good tool to use. It's now beneficial for a lot of players, and to not have to make those 30-yard runs when someone is offsides. I don't miss that with VAR now, so that's great. But besides that, technology has given us a tool as players to just figure out how to put ourselves in situations where we can perform our best, and that is always key in our sport.
Jessica, you spoke about football truly being a global sport. I mean, you could be from Madeira, you could be from Nigeria, you could be from New York. I mean, it's interconnecting in that way, and that's why, obviously, the World Cup in the USA, Canada, and also Mexico is going to be really, really interesting because it does feel truly global in that sense. I'm interested from your perspective. I think the male game is what it needs to be or has been for a while, but where you see the female game growing, how can we use tech to really push that so there's more visibility in that respect?
Yeah, you know, I think that AI is going to be that equalizer. And I think that in the past, the investments have been made in the men's teams, the tools, the data, the insights, right? That's where the money was. That's where they were investing their tools and technology, and the women's teams weren't getting access to that same technology. And I think with AI, now everybody has access, so it equalizes. It equalizes the women's teams with the men's teams. It also helps people that, you know, are in, you know, locations that are far from different places so that maybe they don't usually have access to that kind of technology. So I think about it even from a children's perspective, right? And how they now have access to training and things that they might not have, you know, previously. But I think that it really helps equalize the playing field for women because now they can really get the same training and coaching and tools that will help them up their game, right? And so I think it's going to really change. I think it really changes the game actually and creates a much more of a level playing field for everybody.
Do you think that it creates much more of a level playing field between both the male and female game?
Yeah, I think, you know, the game for us versus our male counterparts, it's just a different game. It's not better or worse. It's just treated different. But with technology, brings it, you know, to an equal playing field then, because we're both using the same technology for the same game. The way we play it and the way we show up for, you know, for the game itself, obviously it's just different. You can't really compare.
For you, having played in so many different leagues, tournaments, and things like that, and actually having seen the game change over time, what does a truly inclusive future for your sport look like?
I think getting paid what our male counterparts, getting paid for the same job that we do, being respected just the same, having an equal level playing field, continuing to put as much money as FIFA does into the men's game and into the women's game. We're damn good at what we do, and we also deserve that. We go through the same, you know, mental, physical, emotional endurance, basically, to perform our best and to show up every day. and we deserve the same.
Yeah, with you on that.
So I'm hoping in 10 years, hopefully 5, maybe next year.
Maybe
okay?
next year. Let's see. Let's
But we
hold the
know
bar.
we have
Let's
to be
go.
realistic.
Yeah.
That hopefully, in years' time, that it can be the same.
Yeah. Flo, you've played in different countries as well, the UK, France, and now on the international stage. What does it look like for you? Because, there's a lot of noise around football, but also especially for men in my eyes anyway, I see it as a really interesting space to also talk about different things. It's one of the few spaces where men come collectively into it. What does an inclusive future look like for you in football?
Yeah, for me, growing up, obviously playing football all my life, you're kind of used to being told what to do by coaches and by sports scientists, but I do feel like with the addition of AI, you can really champion your own career. You can ask AI questions and take things into your own hands. And as I said before, the more AI gets to know you, the more beneficial it will be. In my example, I use AI when I'm going to America. I will ask it questions like, what's a good time for me to go to sleep in order to avoid jet lag? That allows me to then wake up at a good time and have the energy for training and adapt faster. And yeah, I just feel like in general, I also work with brands like Flykit, and that allows me to just be proactive and help me to recover. So when you're proactive and you add that with technology like AI, I do think the future's very bright. And as I said, if that's accessible to both men and women, so I feel like that creates a fair advantage for everyone. And in the end, it's going to improve the sport.
Yeah, for sure. As a fan, I'm interested to know how excited you are for the pending World Cup, because I've never played in an international tournament like that. It's the greatest stage on earth. What goes through your mind, even at this early stage?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying very hard to stay focused on the present, but it is difficult. I've been told by more than one people it's going to be the biggest sporting event in the world.
Are you ready for that?
I am ready for that. I mean, occasions like that do excite me, and that's why you work so hard. That's why you do use the technology to try and give yourself more of an advantage. So it's something I'm really looking forward to, and I can't even put it into words, to be honest.
Yeah. What about you, Ali? I mean, you've been there, done that. You lifted the trophy a couple of times. I mean, what does that preamp to the World Cup feel like? Because you are representing your country at the greatest stage in the profession that you love so much.
Yeah, it's the biggest tournament in the world for any sport, and it is the pinnacle of our sport, and it's the dream for every young child who plays football, well, at least for me and a lot of my teammates, to get to that place, that tournament. It was a dream come true, and something that is so rewarding. So you get there, you're putting on your jersey, you feel so proud to represent your friends, your family, your teammates, your country, and yeah, you really can't articulate how incredible the feeling is, because it's something that you feel like you have accomplished, that you've worked your entire life for, using all the tools that you can to get there. So incredible feeling, super rewarding, and a moment in my life that obviously I'll never forget.
Yeah, and Jess, I guess it's interesting because this could be a really good opportunity for a platform like Microsoft to really flex its might in what it can do for the fan experience, for the on-field experience, and just for the player experience as well, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we're already doing a lot of things in different sports, and we're going to be announcing things soon with new ones coming too.
Okay.
But we've got sideline experiences in the NFL, right, that are helping the players and the coaches. We've got a fan experience that we do with the NBA that really engages fans in different ways, kind of like the way I talked about the customized content and things like that. We've got statistics and data that we do with La Liga. So, we see sports as a huge opportunity, a place where Microsoft can really help contribute and help athletes, continue to optimize and, perform better and better, and help coaches get better insights into games, right? We just did a big thing with the Combine, helping coaches look at the data real time as they were doing these drills and evaluate that content and look at it and say, okay, for somebody this tall and this weight, what's the fastest time that's ever been done here? And what do we predict this person can do then? And so I think it's just providing all these tools and resources into sports that, again, kind of creates this new playing field for people and gives people an advantage, but it's available to everybody.
Ali, for you, I want to end on this actually, because I know it's something you're super passionate about. What is the future of the women's game with tech in tow? Is it a future that feels way more inclusive? Is it a future that also understands the needs of women better? Is it a future that also financially can benefit the female game moving forward?
Yes, and the players as well can really help, help the players and use their individual platforms to continue to grow the game as well and use their voices for good. So I do think that. I also think if you have tech and the broadcast media teams showing the games, being able to not only improve players' performances, but then put them on prime time, and that's kind of goes hand in hand, then the women's game will just grow tremendously. And I think we are going to continue to see this momentum. It's not just in the moment right now. It's definitely, we've been here. We've been waiting for this. We've been ready. So I think in order to showcase our talent, how damn good we are at what we do, tech and broadcast media have to join hands and give us that space to perform.
Okay, well, let's end it there. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your warm hands together for Flo, Jessica, and also Ali as well. Thank you very much.